Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our sustainable spring cleaning tips. Spring is just around the bend. I know the last few days haven't felt like it, but it will be back, I promise. My name is Amy Dunsborn. I'm SWACO's Outreach Administrator, and we're going to be walking through some tips and tricks to have a more sustainable spring. I will say that all of this information I'm sharing today is really related to waste reduction away from the landfill. So while there are a lot of tips out there to be more sustainable related to spring cleaning, I am really just covering the waste prevention, reduction, and diversion strategies, since that is part of SWACO's mission. So let's go ahead and get started today. So for those of you who are new to the GoToWebinar platform, a couple helpful tricks to make your experience a little bit better. There is a control panel that you'll see with a question box. That is where you'll be able to answer all your questions throughout today's session. So click on the question mark icon and then type in your question. Everyone is on mute today, but I will be addressing all the questions that I received through email ahead of time, as well as the live questions coming in today. I also have two handouts that I'm sharing. If you see the icon that looks like a little piece of paper, click on that, double click on the handouts. Those will automatically download to your tablet or computer. If you're having issues accessing the handouts today, don't worry about it. I'm happy to send them your way. Just email me after this webinar and I'll send them back your way. So for those who are new to SWACO, maybe you haven't heard of us before and you're curious as to what we do. We are the Franklin County Solid Waste District, and really we're tasked with reducing our reliance on the landfill. We own and operate the landfill located in Grove City, Ohio. It services all of Franklin County, 1.3 million residents, 41 communities, and we really truly want that landfill to last as long as it can. So that means everyone, businesses and residents, need to do their part to recycle and compost and reuse as much as possible. So SWACO has developed programs and services that seek to recover materials whenever possible, get them out of the landfill. Everything from programming for grant funding for communities, schools, nonprofits to help them reduce their waste, recycle more, equipment for public events to implement recycling, special collection events for hard to recycle things like election signs, pharmaceuticals, and e-waste. And then a number of communities, I believe the list is 12 communities right now, have a food waste drop-off program where residents can bring their food scraps for composting. We also do provide a public recycling program for residents and businesses that maybe lack access to recycling. We have 53 locations all around Franklin County. So quick snapshot of some of the services we provide, by no means a comprehensive list. Visit swaco.org if you want to learn more about what we provide to the Franklin County community. So as I mentioned before, SWACO is really, the mission of SWACO is to really reduce the amount of material ending up in our landfill. More and more material is making its way to the landfill because we're a growing community. More people are moving to Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County. It's a pretty cool place to live. And more people typically means more waste. Annually, our landfill accepts just over 1.1 million tons of material. The really good news is about 54% of the waste that we generate as a community is diverted through recycling or composting. That's very encouraging because the national average is about 34%. So we're doing a pretty good job as a community, but there's always room for improvement because 3/4 or 76% of what's inside our landfill, it doesn't belong there. It's stuff that could have been reused, recycled, or composted. While I can really nerd out on all these stats and all this data, I don't want to bore you. So let's just cover the top 2 sources of material inside the landfill. Food waste is the #1 source of material. 15% of the total waste stream by weight of material that we receive at our daily landfill, at our local landfill. It's equivalent to about 1 million pounds of food waste coming to our landfill daily. That is equivalent to 40 school buses filled with food waste coming to the landfill. So it's not just a problem here in Central Ohio. It's a nationwide issue. 40% of all the food that we grow in our country is discarded, according to the USDA. SWACO is working hard to reduce food waste in our region, working with local stakeholders to find a rescue solution if possible. And if rescue or donation isn't feasible, working on trying to find a composting solution. The second largest source of material in our landfill, 10% of the stream, cardboard boxes. You may be thinking, well, cardboard's recyclable. I could put that in my recycling bin at home. You sure can. We're seeing more and more cardboard taking up the space in the landfill, really due to a lot of e-commerce and the way that we have shifted the way we shop these days. So the reason why you're all here today is you want some advice on how to have a more sustainable spring cleaning process this year, and hopefully future years as well. And so if you're late to the call, I see a few people just jumped on. I am really just touching on some tips related to waste reduction and prevention. SWACO's mission is to reduce our reliance on the landfill, and so I will not be covering everything from electricity usage and water usage, really because that sort of content doesn't pertain to us. We're really focused on the waste piece. So these are all waste prevention strategies. I've got 8 tips that I'm going to walk you through, and feel free to ask questions in the chat box as they come up, and I will be addressing those. So number 1, if you can, I recommend choosing cleaning products that are made with all natural ingredients. So you may already have a plethora of cleaning agents and different products that you've purchased from the store. Please use those first. Don't discard those and then go swap out for new green items. Use what you got, okay? That's the most sustainable thing any of us can do, is to use the items that we already have on hand. But once you're through with that item, make sure to recycle the bottle, right? That's a sustainable solution. And then the next time you're in the market for a cleaning product, if you can opt for one of the non-toxic alternatives that I have here on the screen. Oftentimes these conventional products that we buy from the store, the big box stores, they contain synthetic ingredients and fragrances that are bad for air quality as well as our health. And we can choose alternatives, while they may not be as simple and straightforward. With a little bit of research, or going to a store that sells refillable options, you'll be able to make that switch pretty straightforward. So you can make your own cleaning products at home by sourcing vinegar, lemons, and baking soda. A lot of people also implement or incorporate essential oils to give their cleaning products just a little bit of a fragrance. So if you're someone that really likes the good smells when they clean their house, I understand. Maybe you could make that switch to an essential oil product, or adding an essential oil to your vinegar solution that you're going to use to clean your bathroom, lemons that you're going to use to clean out different stains and surfaces, and then baking soda as your deodorizer and your general household cleaner. If you're really intimidated by the whole process of making your own cleaner, I get it. It's not for everybody. You also have an alternative that you can rely on from the stores. So the EPA, the US EPA, I should say, created this safer choice label. This is really cool in the sense that the EPA, they did the auditing and the vetting for us as the consumer. The products that contain these labels, they have already went through additional testing to ensure all the chemical ingredients that are a part of the cleaning agents are safe for the environment as well as for our health. So this includes reviewing those ingredients to make sure that they're non-toxic for our reproductive health and development, as well as for the aquatic life, our rivers and streams, and that they don't persist for a long time in our environment. And it's not just, you know, bathroom cleaners and kitchen cleaners. There's all kinds of items that have the safer choice label. Everything from soaps to all-purpose cleaners to your floors to pet care products. I did include more information in the handout section about this safer choice label if you're interested in learning more. The website's also included here on this slide. But I will admit I'm not always good at making my own cleaners, but I can feel a little bit better about finding that safer choice label on the products that I'm using in my home, knowing that I'm not spraying chemicals that are going to potentially lead to allergies for someone in my home, or end up polluting the environment if somehow that container was to get dropped and spilled during transit. I want to do my part to make sure that the people in my home are safe, as well as my local environment. So while you're cleaning this year, you may be heavily reliant on paper towels to do the cleaning up of your home and such. Is there a way that you could cut down on some of those single-use wasteful products? I'm not saying it's an all or nothing. I'm saying, is there a way that you could cut back? If you currently are 100% reliant on paper towels, what about trying to make strides to move towards reusable cloths, rags, reusable mop heads, even if you're doing the single-use disposable mop heads? Just trying to find little ways, small changes that you could incorporate a reusable option versus the single use where it's just automatically going to go in the dumpster. Now, sometimes you have to use the paper towel, right? There are some jobs that just are called for it. Well, you're going to have to make that executive call. But there are other times, you know, when you're just wiping down your counters or dusting, that a microfiber cloth or a rag would really do just as well. You don't really need to use a paper towel for that project. So I encourage you to think about ways that you could incorporate more of these reusable, repurposed items that can be repurposed, washed in between uses, and then reused. Another one of my personal favorite products that we have used in our household is these dishcloths. If you see on the left-hand side, one dishcloth is equal to about 15 rolls of paper towels. So if you're committed, if you're in a household that's pretty heavily using paper towels, I encourage you to look up what this sustainable dishcloth is. It's made out of plants, it's reusable, washable in between uses, so you can throw it in your dishwasher to clean it up. And then when it's finished, like when it's no longer absorbing messes and spills, it's fully compostable. That's pretty cool. And so we use it in our household to wipe down the counters after dinner. We'll use it sometimes to wipe down our dishes. You know, we'll use it to clean off the dining room table afterwards. And I've had my same one for about 3 months. It's holding up really well. It's still absorbing my liquids. Again, I don't use it for a really dirty job. I'm only going to use it for cleaning surfaces that just have a little bit of food or something on them. I'm not adding chemicals to it. I'm just using a little bit of soap and water to get the job done. So number 2, just cutting down on the single-use disposable products that we use in our daily lives to clean up our household messes. Number 3, donate reusable items. I think everyone knows that, right? We all know that we need to donate items that are reusable, that are in good working condition. They don't really belong in the landfill, right? And so most of the community, 94% of Franklin County residents donate their items. We know that because we conducted a public opinion poll. So everyone on the call is probably already donating, but I just wanted to share some of the ins and outs about some of the larger charitable organizations in our region, what they do accept and don't accept, so that way you have a really good understanding. If you go to our website, recycleright.org, and you navigate to textiles and clothing, you'll be able to see a list of all the locations in our region that accept clothes and household goods for reuse. So one of the first agencies in our region that's pretty unique is the Furniture Bank of Central Ohio. The reason why I wanted to share more about them is because they are one of the only organizations, to my knowledge, that accepts mattresses for reuse. So if you have a stain-free, rip-free, good condition mattress, they are in need of those. They are not going to take your 25-year-old mattress that is falling apart, okay? These items go to families that are completely starting over. So they need good quality stuff to start over, not our junk. They gladly pick up as well. So if you are downsizing at your home, you are moving, and you cannot take a lot of these large mattresses, dressers, vanities, couches with you, and they're in good shape, no holes, no stains, no bed bugs, please call the Furniture Bank. They will bring a truck out. They will pick it up. For free. They ask that materials are out in a garage or they're on the porch. If you cannot physically do that, they will come into your home to take items, but then they charge, I think it's $50 or $75 fee. Call them, talk to them about your situation, tell them what you have. They will try to accommodate your request. Again, items should be in good condition. They don't really take anything related to babies, so any car seats or high chairs, hospital beds, large metal desks and cabinets, pianos and organs. Like really, it's truly items that families need when completely starting fresh. So stuff that would go in a bedroom, in a kitchen, you know, in a living room, to make sure that families are comfortable in their new home. All right, we've got the Goodwill as our next charitable organization. So the Goodwill takes a variety of materials as well. They don't take mattresses though, but they'll take furniture if it's in good condition. What's also really unique about the Goodwill is they also take electronic waste for recycling. It kind of sounds funny, doesn't it? Why would the Goodwill want my electronic waste? Well, they have a program that where they recycle their electronic waste, and the profits from recycling the waste help to fund their job developmental programs. So you're doing good by recycling, and you're doing double good by helping to fund programs that support adults with disabilities. So if you have electronics lying around and you're nearby a Goodwill donation center, why not drop it off there? Especially also if you have other items that you want to drop off at the Goodwill for donation. The one type of electronic waste they don't accept any monitors or TVs. So that's all listed on their website. They do not take those materials, but they take everything else. Habitat for Humanity is another one of those unique organizations in our region. They essentially take anything that you would need to build a new home. Okay, so again, if you're renovating your home, it's on your to-do list. You know someone who's getting ready to get new cabinets in their kitchen, a new bathtub, I can't even pretend to think of all the things. Okay, and the other one, the previous one, is in good condition. Consider donating those items to Habitat for Humanity. They take good appliances, cabinets, electrical, flooring, furniture, landscaping, lighting, sinks and vanities, windows, tools, and lumber. So really anything that it would take to build a new structure. They do not take anything broken or in need of repair. Furniture, hazardous materials, toilets, paint, mirrors, sofa beds, dishwashers, or used clothing. If you are unsure if your material is accepted, I always encourage you to call ahead, confirm before you take a drive up there to drop off your items. If you're on a time crunch, you've got to be out of your apartment by the end of the month. You've got 3 days left. You don't have a mode of transportation to drop off these items at these different agencies. Why not post it on social media for free? Okay, you could post it on Marketplace for a dollar amount, but if you don't have the time for that, if you post it for free, it's going to go. There are these different platforms on social media. Some are called Free Cycle, Free Trade, Buy Nothing Trade. I just encourage you to look it up. Post your stuff, take a picture. You could see a picture here. Someone just said free items. Honestly, most of the time, if you set something out, someone's going to pick it up, especially if it's in good shape and it could be of use to someone else. So that's something you can do as a last resort. Some people I'm seeing more and more doing like curb alert, where they just post it and they say curb alert, not monitoring, not keeping, or not going to be having conversations with folks about items. That's always a possibility too. Just know that if you do set it out for the curb and it doesn't go, that doesn't mean eventually it's going to end up at the landfill. That's not necessarily the goal here, is to have our perfectly good things end up at the landfill. But at the end of the day, that is why we have a landfill, is to ensure that all the materials are safely disposed of. So you're going through your house, you're getting rid of a variety of items, you're cleaning up your basement, and you're kind of taking an audit of all the materials that you're getting rid of. And you're thinking to yourself, or you're tempted to throw good items in the recycling bin, because you think, well, maybe the recycling facility will accept those items for recycling. It's a perfectly good bowling ball, or it's a perfectly great sweater. I feel like the recycling facility can find a way to reuse it or recycle it. Not really. That's not how recycling works. So Rumpke here in Franklin County is the processor for our materials. They have equipment as well as end users that only can take a certain types of materials. So the items that like we wish were accepted or we hope will be accepted for the recycling program are not. So some things that Rumpke does not have the ability to recycle when you're spring cleaning. Do not take out put your old clothes in there. Any shoes or accessories, your clothes hangers, we see those a lot, metal or plastic, neither one of those are accepted. Those large plastic storage bins, I know they're made out of plastic, they're not recyclable. If they're cracked, they're damaged, they really belong in the trash. And then old paint and chemicals are not recyclable. So really focus on the items that you can already recycle curbside. So your shoe boxes, your glass bottles and jars, plastic bottles and jugs, plastic cleaning supply spray bottles, those are a yes. You just need to remove the nozzle that's at the top and throw that away in the trash. Non-prescription pill bottles, it says empty and larger than 3 inches. And then old paperwork and shredded paper. You're shredding your documents this spring after tax season, and you want to recycle your shredded paper. Place that shredded paper in a clear see-through bag. This will ensure Rumpke sees the material, gets it off the conveyor belt, and mixes it with all the other paper. So recycling right, I think many of us already know the rules, but I just have to go through it real quick. All paper and cardboard is accepted in Franklin County's program, including paper-lined cups and paper-lined ice cream cartons. Those are pretty new. Plastic bottles, jugs, tubs, and cups are also a yes. The only style cup that Rumpke doesn't want is a solo style cup, so the red or the black ones at this time. Otherwise, all other cups, as well as lids and labels, are accepted on plastics. All glass bottles and jars, including the metal lid, that's also accepted. Metal cans and cups, and then all carton containers, and keep everything loose. So you see over here the not accepted side. Plastic bags are on this list. No loose film or plastic bags should be in the recycling. The only time Rumpke makes an exception to the plastic bag rule is with shredded paper, okay? This is the only time that they are allowing you to put it in a see-through bag. Otherwise, all the other film and plastic bags should go back to the retailer for recycling. Propane tanks and other flammables are a no-no. Those go to SWACO's permanent facility for recycling hazardous waste. Tanglers, those metal hangers and chains, those are a no-no. And then any type of clamshell, plastic clamshell container, styrofoam, food packaging, those items are not accepted at this time. Just a friendly reminder, as we're going through our house this year, getting rid of stuff, decluttering, take out food containers, clamshells, prescription medicine bottles, cutlery, plastic cutlery, and nursery pots and flats are not accepted in Rumpke's program at this time. Hard to remember all the rules, or do you have other questions about how to recycle, hard to recycle things? Maybe you've been holding on to a broken vacuum cleaner for a few years because you're not sure what to do with it. Please use our search tool. It's at recycleright.org. If you're on our website, you can't find the material you want to recycle, call us, email us. We answer the phones 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And we're happy to provide you with an answer. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to give us 48 hours and we'll figure out an answer for you. Continuing on the path of recycling rights. Styrofoam does not belong in our recycling bins. Styrofoam has to go to a special place to be processed for recycling. We do have solutions. They're just not as convenient as our carts at home. You can take large pieces of blocks of styrofoam, something that you might get, say, from a new electronic, a new TV, or even coolers that are shipped to our house with food, pre-made food and steaks and things like that. Hilliard has a 24/7 drop-off location for styrofoam, as well as SWACO's new recycling convenience center. This is on the south side off of Jackson Pike. Both of these locations will take styrofoam for recycling. Other facilities that will take hard to recycle materials. So our convenience center, again, that's on the south side. We take a lot of materials that are hard to recycle, everything from tires to electronics to batteries to food waste. In addition to the City of Columbus, their waste and reuse center, they take a variety of materials too on Alum Creek Drive. Food waste, bulk material, yard waste, electronics. These two facilities do take different materials and have different hours of operation. So based on which one's closest to you, I encourage you just to double check the hours of operation and what's accepted and what's not before you pay them a visit. If you have old paints, pesticides, gasoline, as you're cleaning out your garage that you've been holding on to and you want to get rid of this year, please do not place those items in your trash. Those items do not belong in the landfill. They can instead be recycled with us for free if you are a Franklin County resident. SWACO operates a permanent facility for all hazardous waste, anything that would be considered flammable or toxic. We're open Wednesday through Friday, varying times. If those hours aren't convenient for you, see if you can make it to one of our Saturday collection events. We're having one in May in Dublin. Next one's in Gahanna, Grove City, and then Westerville. If any of those communities are convenient for you, I encourage you to hold on to your materials until you can safely recycle them. The one item that we will accept, but we do charge for, is latex-based paint. So latex-based paint is water soluble. It does not harm the landfill. It's trying to find my cursor here. Here we go. This is latex-based paint. It should be dried out before it is tossed in your trash. So if you have a lot of paint, I encourage you to get some paint hardener, some Quickcrete from the hardware store, mix it up, wait until the paint solidifies, and then place that in with your regular trash. If you don't want to go through all that, I get it. Bring it to us. We'll charge you $1 per gallon. That's because we pay to have it recycled and turned into caulking. So it's going to get recycled. It's not going to end up in the landfill. All right, a lot of information about recycling right. It's a complicated subject, all right? We're moving on. Number 5. Try to fix your stuff if it's possible. So I mentioned earlier that broken vacuum cleaner. I've got a broken vacuum cleaner that's in my basement right now. And so it's my example of how I need to fix my things before I recycle them. If the thought of doing a do-it-yourself repair project is intimidating, I get it. But there is this great resource called iFixit that has over 400 entries dedicated to vacuums alone. So other people that have YouTube videos that have step-by-step guides of how to fix a variety of issues, not just with vacuum cleaners, but cameras, appliances, tablets, tools. And so if you are any sort of person that is into engineering or tinkering with things, or maybe you know someone that's into that, and you can recruit them to help fix your broken vacuum cleaner, I encourage you to try that at least. Try it first. It could just honestly be you need a new belt, and all it's going to cost is $5 to get this new belt, and then your vacuum cleaner will be as good as new. Other times it may be that you need a whole new motherboard, and the cost of it's going to be more expensive than buying it brand new, in which case I understand that. But if you can, I would recommend trying to fix it yourself before you just give up and recycle. And I know fixing our own stuff can be intimidating. You may not even want to go down that path. Maybe look into bringing your broken items to an upcoming repair cafe. So Westerville is going to be hosting a repair cafe on April 20th from 9 to noon at the Point at Otterbein University. And so if you do have something that's lying around that needs repaired, even if it's clothing, they are mending clothing as well there. I encourage you to bring your item and work with someone to try to give that product a second life so you can keep on enjoying it. Some other groups that often host repair cafes, we have the Worthington Library as well as Green Columbus. So if you don't already follow those groups on social media, I encourage you to follow them so you can stay in the loop on upcoming events and repair cafes. All right, number 6, say no to junk mail. I think everyone can agree with this one, that junk mail is pretty annoying. Half the time you just pick it up out of the mailbox and then go straight to the recycling bin. Wouldn't it be great if those companies just didn't send you the mail to begin with? I mean, yes, you're able to recycle most junk mail, but I don't want it to begin with. So if you have junk mail piling up on your dining room table or in your office space and you're just like waiting to go through it, maybe take the time this year to get on these various websites and sign up to have your name removed from catalogs and other junk mail so you don't receive them to begin with. So a few years ago, I signed up for dmachoice.org. It's a $5 fee. I know it costs money, but it's for 10 years. And I tell you, I have not received any catalogs. So no unsolicited information from like nurseries or clothing companies. I haven't gotten a single one. It's fantastic. I really appreciate it. Am I 100% junk mail free? No, but I'm getting closer. So I've been really pleased since I've signed up for DMA Choice. There's also a couple other free options. Catalog Choice is one and EcoCycle is another one. Typically what they do is they require you to type in the name of the magazine or catalog that you no longer want to receive, and then they reach out to that group and say that you want to be taken off the list. So you can also just be proactive and email or call these companies that you're receiving mail from and tell them that you don't want to be on it. But what I found is if you then order from them, you get put back on the subscription list. So it can be a bit futile, but I do really like my success with the DMA Choice one. So give that a whirl this year if you're tired of junk mail piling up. So you've tackled the inside of your house. You're decluttering, you're making sure that the chemicals that if you're using chemicals or you're making the switch to natural cleaning products, you're choosing reusables as much as possible when you're cleaning, donating your items, recycling rights. And now you're going to tackle the outside of your house. Okay, that's a whole nother area that needs to be kind of cleaned up in the spring, typically. And so if you are biting, getting ready to get out there, I would encourage you to take a couple steps, including when you set your yard waste out, maybe you're getting ready to start mowing, you're trimming back some of your bushes, your grasses to make room for the new growth. Make sure that only yard waste is going into your paper bags or your receptacle that's labeled yard waste. So we want to leave, plastic pots and dirt and rocks and stuff like that out of our yard waste bags. The yard waste facility doesn't have a way to process and recycle or compost non-organic materials. Leaves such as grass clippings and weeds and shrubs should all be inside of the yard waste bag. That's going to ensure that they're going to get picked up and serviced. Placing materials on the ground loose doesn't always guarantee that they're going to get picked up and composted. If you do not want to buy biodegradable bags, those paper ones from the grocery store and like Ace Hardware and stuff, I understand. But make sure that whatever container you're repurposing does say yard waste clearly on it, so the folks servicing your yard waste container know that that container is yard waste and not trash or recycling. And then make sure that you're setting out your yard waste on your yard waste collection day. Some communities stop yard waste collection during the winter because we don't generate a lot of it. So I live in a community that only provides service April through October, and then November through March, they're on pause. So depending on where you live, you might be experiencing something like that as well. And so it's always important to double check with your community's program to see what's accepted. Here's another quick reference, the types of items that are accepted in the yard waste program and items that would not be accepted. So obviously leaves, grass clippings, twigs, weeds and brush, shrubs. And then we don't want to place any food waste or pet waste in the program. The facility that's processing our yard waste does not have a good way to process food and pet waste. So don't contaminate the yard waste stream by putting those items in there. Dirt and rocks also not accepted. No plastics. That's including those plastic nursery pots and containers. And then don't use plastic bags for yard waste. So if you do bag your leaves in the fall or your shrubs in the spring, that material is going to end up in the landfill. There's just not a way that the yard waste facility has a way to process plastic. So it has to be in all biodegradable, compostable materials for them to process it. And our final tip, number 8, is to try to prevent food waste. So you're probably cleaning out your fridge. You probably clean out your fridge more than just every spring, but I don't know. But if you're spring cleaning and you're cleaning out your fridge, you're wiping down the shelves, you're taking an audit of all the condiments that you have, all the different varieties of mustards and ranches, I encourage you to step back and try to think holistically about the food that you bring into your house and how you store your food. It could be a big challenge to do because it's most likely not just us, not just one person in the home that's, ingesting the food and keeping track of it. So it can be a lot, but just, trying to be cognizant of the food that you bring into the house and if it's getting, stored correctly, if we're maximizing all the food and the shelf life of the food. These are all really important steps to ensure we send less food to our landfill. So organize your fridge is one of the biggest tips that I can recommend to you if you've got a spare minute. If you have younger ones in your house, or you have a spouse that's not good at like looking through the fridge to find the leftovers, if you could designate a corner of a shelf or even a whole shelf to items that are close to their expiration date and need to be eaten as soon as possible, that's a really good way to put it front and center to remind folks that, hey, this yogurt, this milk, this avocado, it needs to be consumed in the next 48 hours or we're going to have to throw it away. And so if someone in your household is willing to do a little bit of legwork to ensure that those items are front and center, that can make it a lot easier for folks in your home to know what needs to be eaten next. Learning about date labels, I think, is also really important. Date labels can be very confusing. You've got best by, used by, expires on, and really it's all just subjective. It's all based on what the manufacturer has decided to place on the container. The only product that's required by federal law to have a date label is infant formula. So everything else is truly just for quality purposes, is not really for safety. So I would encourage you to not go, if you see an expiration date, not to go, all right, we just need to throw this away. Give it a go. I mean, you're not going to die from it, you know. It's not, especially if it's something that's canned or it's preserved, you're going to be okay. So just try and use common sense when it comes to date labels, that it's not always an end-all be-all, that it belongs in the trash. Using your visual cues is also very helpful when it comes to expiration dates. And then the items that are past their prime, it happens to us. We have a mushy bag of lettuce in our refrigerator that we had every intention of eating that salad for lunch, but we didn't get around to it. Is there a way that you can compost that food that's past its prime? If you aren't a backyard composter, there are other solutions for you. So there are 20 free food waste drop-off sites all around Franklin County. The full list of them can be found on SaveMoreThanFood.org. This is just a quick map of where some of them are. So Columbus just launched 3 locations, and then there's a number of other communities that have food waste drop-off locations. What's great about these locations is you can compost even more than what you can do in your backyard system. So you can do the meats, the dairies, the bones, and those are items that typically you want to steer clear from in your backyard system. So I encourage you to check those out. If you're thinking about composting, but you're not sure where to begin, maybe you could start by bringing your food scraps to a community drop-off location. All right, so I hope you feel a little bit more prepared this year when you're going to be tackling your spring cleaning projects, finding different small ways to create less waste. You don't have to do all 8 of these recommendations to be more sustainable. Maybe you just try 1 or 2 this year, give it a go, and see how it works for you. I'm really all about progress, not perfection. I don't think we shouldn't feel guilty about not being 100% waste-free. We're all just doing the best we can, and so I hope you'll try to incorporate some of these strategies into your daily life. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. I wanted to make note of my questions ahead of time. I received a question from Linda about taking scraps of fabric to where she can take scraps of fabric. This is a great question, Linda, and I wish I had a clear-cut solution for you. If anyone on this call knows of an entity, a charitable organization that does take scraps of fabric, so or rags or anything like that that would be past its prime and not reusable in the sense that someone's going to wear it, or yeah, please let me know, because we don't know of anyone. We don't know of anyone here locally who is taking scraps and then repurposing them. We hope one day we will have a textile recycler here in our region that will be able to serve the function of recycling our scrap fibers. But right now there isn't a viable solution in our region. And so I don't have a solution for you. I'm sorry about that, Linda. I wish I did. All right. Now I'm going to open it up to questions from today. Oh, Julie asked, is there a website or phone number for the furniture bank? Oh, good question. Yes, so let's go to we're going to pull out of our presentation and we're going to navigate to the Recycle Right website because that's just the easiest reference to get there. We're going to go to, let's see, would they be under usable furniture maybe? There we go. Furniture Bank of Central Ohio. Their phone number is 614-545-3838. You could also Google them. You should be able to find their information pretty quickly. They are located in Franklinton. Tim asked a question about recycling cardboard boxes with some food residue. So pizza boxes, as an example, pizza boxes really should be clean to be recycled. So what that means is there should be very minimal grease and food residue on them to be accepted for recycling. So if that's not the place that you get your food from, your pizza from, you can still do half of it. So you could still recycle the lid and place that in your recycling bin that's clean, and then that grease saturated portion would go in your trash. If you're a backyard composter, Tim, you can compost greasy cardboard. It's a good carbon source. It breaks down fairly quickly, and then it makes me feel a little bit better because I'm not sending it to the landfill. What about recycling plastic peanut butter containers? Plastic peanut butter containers are a yes if they're clean. That can be really hard to do. What my trick I've learned over the years is I give my plastic peanut butter container to my dog to clean out. So if you've got a dog at home and if they'll have fun cleaning that out for you, she thinks it's a treat, right? So she does the bulk of the work getting it clean, and I just do the last little bit at the very bottom to clean it out. If you don't want to mess with cleaning out your plastic peanut butter jar, then it should go in the trash. What about compressed paper containers like fast food, drink holders, and egg cartons? Yes, those are a yes. Compressed paper containers, or I've also heard people refer to them as cardboard containers, fiber containers. Those are all recyclable. Really, when it comes to paper, Rumpke uses the phrase, if it tears, it can be recycled. So if it doesn't have like that plastic laminate on it, lamination or a hard cover of plastic, then it can be recycled. Plastic nursery pots and seedling containers are not accepted in the program. I did have a slide that included, I'm going to navigate back to that. These are not accepted, and whether they're black or red or blue or whatever color, Rumpke currently doesn't have a buyer for this type of plastic. Melinda says, I take the wire containers to a dry cleaner, but what about the pesky plastic ones? Ooh, good question. So yeah, some dry cleaners, Melinda, do accept the wire ones for reuse, right? It helps their bottom line. And so plastic ones, I've heard other people say they take plastic ones to like Goodwill, Volunteers of America, Salvation Army, because they have a way to reuse those. Now, I would just call ahead to confirm that they will accept those. I've seen those for sale. I don't know if they actually use them to like hang their clothes on. They probably just bundle them up and then put them out on the sales floor for other consumers to buy. You could also just post them on a free cycle page. Most likely someone will come pick them up. Molly said that Goodwill takes scraps as long as they are not wet or moldy. Molly, that has always been our understanding as well until recently. So if you have an insider at Goodwill that you've spoken with that has told you that, I would love to connect with you. It sounds like things have changed recently about with the textile market and what's accepted here domestically. And so we're just unsure if that's still the case, but please follow up with me afterwards, Molly, if you've got an inside connection, or maybe you are an insider with Goodwill. I would love to know more. Adrian says 4days.com takes textile scraps by purchasing one of their take back bags. Yes, that's correct. I've heard about that, that they will take any type of scrap or past its prime clothing. It does cost money. I believe last time I checked, it was $20 or $25 a bag. Excuse me. And it is a pretty large bag too. Julie says that Goodwill would not accept those plastic hangers. Well, that's good to know. Goodwill won't accept them. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I have seen them on the sales floor. I'm not sure if Goodwill won't take them. I would maybe try Volunteers of America or Ohio Thrift. Call them to see if they'll accept them. But otherwise, I'm not sure who else would take them. What about compostable cutlery? Is that recyclable? Good question. And I know that can be confusing, the compostable items in the recycling system. So the answer is no. Compostable cutlery, compostable cups, compostable takeout food containers, they are made out of plants. They're made out of items that can break down and can be turned into soil. So they have a different processing. They have a different way to be processed. The only way for them to be turned into soil, for them to truly break down and decompose, is if they go to a commercial compost facility. So that means that you've got to get those compostable products to a local food waste drop-off program. So if you live in one of those communities, I'm gonna pull out here again and just go to the actual site of where they're all listed. Recycleright.org. Navigate to food, waste, and scraps. Hit search. It's going to tell you, where you currently are. This is where I am. Not really. It's a little off, but and then it's going to pull up all the food waste drop-off locations. So wherever you are on this map, try to find the spot closest to you to take your compostable items to. There are some curbside programs out there as well. I believe Compost Exchange is the only one that is currently doing servicing curbside. Otherwise, you've got to take your stuff to a food waste drop-off location. That material is going to go to a commercial compost facility where the temperatures get hot enough for a long enough period of time to break down the chains of the items inside the compostable, they're called compostable plastics made out of plants. If we place those items in our backyard compost system, they will never break down because our backyard systems don't get hot enough to break down those, they're called polymers, plant polymers, if you will. So otherwise they should go in the trash, not in our recycling system. Our recycling system is really only set up to handle petroleum-based plastics. So, plastics that are generated from the fossil fuel industry. I hope that makes sense because I know it can be confusing, Julie. Jean, sorry, that was Jean that asked that question. Kelly wants to know, can we recycle toothpaste containers? No, we can't. And really the reason being, it's that soft plastic, and Rumpke doesn't have a buyer for that plastic right now. I know a lot of those toothpaste containers too say recycle me on them, which is very misleading. We call that greenwashing. They're trying to make you feel good about buying their product because it's recyclable. Well, it's not. Maybe some programs across the United States would accept those, but unfortunately our program does not accept any type of toothpaste container. So really, the rule of thumb when it comes to recycling in our region is, does it fit the bill for being one of these shapes? Is it a bottle, a jug, a tub? Things like cottage cheese, yogurt, salsa, sour cream, hummus, something that you would get from the deli or the dairy section? Or is it a cup? Cups that you get from a gas station, your favorite Starbucks, Tim Hortons, fast food restaurants, cups that you would buy somewhere, not solo style cups. That's the one type of plastic that Rumpke doesn't have a buyer for at this time. All the other cups are accepted. Leave all your lids on your plastics. They will also recycle the plastic lids. Good question. Okay, I think, oh, just got another one. The toothpaste question reminds me, even the toothpaste box isn't recyclable if it has metallic type material on it. Is that correct? Same with the greeting cards with glitter and such. Yeah, so the metallic type gloss, if you will, I consider that kind of like a plastic gloss. I don't know exactly what it's made of, but that's fine. It's very similar to like a frozen food box, a pizza box. Sometimes cereal boxes even have that like waxy, not necessarily shiny, but they have some sort of coating on them to make them kind of pop, if you will. And so that would be yes. You can definitely recycle your toothpaste box, no problem. It tears, right? Paper, if your paper tears, it goes in the recycling bin. Greeting cards with glitter and such. So, right, so greeting cards that have glitter, bedazzles, batteries. Have you guys ever seen the ones that have the batteries in now in the cards because now they are singing cards? Oh, who invented those? But they're fun. I have to say they are fun, especially for little kids. They get a kick out of them. But no, those would not be accepted. So I would try to steer clear from the glitter cards, steer clear from the electronic cards. Recycle what you can. If any component of the card doesn't have glitter on it, I'd rip that off and then place the glitter side in the trash. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the paper facilities can't turn plastic or batteries into more paper. So what's going to happen is when all the paper goes to the paper facility, the paper recycler, it turns into this big paper pulp slurry. And anything that's not true paper or fiber rises to the top in this big vat of slurry. And then they skim that off and then that goes to a landfill. So one way or another, the glitter, the batteries, the bows that are on the wrapping paper, that stuff's going to get eliminated and it's going to end up in a landfill. But you can help the recycling process by doing that part at home. Tina asks, what about the metal lid to the glass container? Metal lids are also accepted on the glass container. Just throw the metal lid in loose in your recycling bin, and then the magnets at the recycling facility will pull off the magnet from the line. All really great questions. I just want to remind anybody that has found this information useful. You will receive the recording tomorrow around the noon hour. You're welcome to share this out with friends and family that you think might benefit from the information. Folks that weren't able to attend in lifetime will also receive the recording. And then we do provide every month how to recycle right at home webinars. So this was a different iteration of it. This is more specific about spring cleaning, but the next one on how to recycle right, if folks have other questions about recycling, will be next Wednesday, March 27th And then throughout April, we'll be doing a number of webinars. One on April 3rd is going to be about how to donate food if you're a food business. So if you know someone that works in a restaurant, a catering company, a school perhaps, this would be a great webinar for you to join to learn how you can donate your food. If you know someone who is a part of an office space, a warehouse space, and you don't have recycling currently and are interested in learning more about how to start a recycling program, we have a webinar on how to start a program on April 10th. And then we have 2 webinars, one of them on Earth, 2 of them are on Earth Day. One's about sustainable practices in the workplace. So if you are with a company or your office is looking for ways to be more sustainable, this would be a great time to have your colleagues and your team tune in. And then there's also one for residents that's about how to recycle more of your materials on Earth Day. So I want to thank everyone for their time today. You guys have had a lot of really great questions. You have my email in your registration email. If you ever have additional questions in the future, I'm just a click away. I want you to use me as a resource. That's why I'm here. So thank you everyone so much and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye-bye.